that he likes to be called seems Asian, but we'll just go with it.
Yeah. When I heard that little bit of information, I'm just like, where would you find that to be Asian? All right, the next one we have is Nikolai Thibault Bernot. He was 23 years old and also graduated from UPI in 1958 for civil engineering. He was the son of a French communist who was sent to a detention camp to later on he was executed under the Stalinistic regime. Then after that, we have Zemyan Zolotaryov. We have the oldest of the group, 38 years old, graduated from the Institute of Physical Education in Minsk in 1950. He was an instructor, Korvika, tour based during the incident. He was the most mysterious of the group. He asked to be called Sasha. No one really knew much about him, but he fought during the Great Patriotic War, which had a 3% survival rate, and he ended up gaining 4 military awards from it, which is pretty impressive. And then our 10th member, Yuri Yulden. Last but not least, 21 years old, Yuri was a 4th-year student of UPI for engineering.
Yeah, so pretty much those are all the people involved in this hiking expedition. These were all the people that were involved in this hiking expedition, and almost all of them were students or had been students of UPI, and they all had hiking experience. So now that we know some information about these individuals, let's get into the timeline of what happened.
So the entire goal of this 14-day expedition was to reach Otorten, which was a mountain. The team was made up of 8 men and 2 women, students and graduates of the Ural Polytechnic, and was led by Igor Dyatlov. During this time of the season, was estimated as Category 3, which is the most difficult out of all the hiking categories. However, like we said earlier, all of the members were experienced in long mountain expeditions, so it shouldn't have been that big of a deal for them.
No, it shouldn't have.
Nope.
On January 25th, the group arrived by train to Ivdel, which was a city at the center of the northern province of Sverdlovsky Oblast. The group then took a truck to Vizay. Now, something worth noting here, Vizay was the last inhabited settlement that they were at when they were doing their hike.
Yep.
So then on January 27th, they left Vizay and started their hike towards Otorten Mountain.
On January 28th, one of the students, Yuri Yulden, becomes ill, and he decided to go back to the nearest town. That was a lucky call by him. Whatever got him sick?
Sciatic. That's sciatica.
It was, really? So he had like some back issues?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So then on the next day, on January 29th, the hike continues. The group is following the valley and the river heading towards the Otorten Mountain. They are traveling on frozen lakes using the old Mansi trails. Now keep these Mansi trails in mind because we talk about the Mansis, this group, later on during the theories. And we mentioned them a little bit during the whole thing of what happened. I think you might have mentioned some of that in one of your theories, Daniel. The Mansis.
Oh, the local tribes.
Yeah, the local tribe.
Yes.
Yeah. So then on January 31st, after their 4th day of hiking, the group sets up a camp by the Ospia River. Now, this is where they leave some of their supplies. So on their way back, they have it all set up for, them. So they have it ready for on their, and plus they don't have to carry a whole bunch of stuff with them up to the Otorten Mountain. So on February 1st, the group set out for a 2.5 mile trip. Now, the weather conditions were pretty horrible that day, so at around 4 p.m., they decided to set up camp on the slope of Colette Sekel. The group settled down for the night. Later in the evening is when the tragic events took place.
Now, what happens next is a mystery, but this is what we do know. So it had been agreed upon beforehand that Dyatlov would send a telegram to their sports club as soon as the group returned to Vizay, which was the town that we talked about earlier. Now, this was expected to happen no later than February 12th, but Dyatlov has told Yulden that he expected it to be longer. And so when February 12th had passed and no message had been received from Dyatlov, there was no immediate reaction. However, on February 20th, volunteer students, teachers, and army and police forces became involved. they started searching for the students.
So it goes from February 1st, and then there's a big gap that nobody hears from them all the way until February 20, or nobody hears anything from them. And then February 20th is when they send out the search group. So that's where the mystery starts. And that's where we're about to get into of what was found during the search. And it gets pretty crazy. So let's hop into that.
I like crazy.
So 6 days after they started their search, the searchers found the abandoned and badly damaged tent on Kholat Syakhl, where the students had last set up their camp on February 1st. One of the individuals who first came across the tent said, "The tent was half torn down and half covered with snow. It was empty and all the group's belongings and shoes had been left behind." Investigators said that the tent had been cut open from the inside and that skiers had fled in socks or bare feet. A chain of 8 or 9 sets of footprints left by several people who were wearing socks, a single shoe, or barefoot could be found and led down towards the edge of nearby woods. On the opposite side of the pass, about 1.5 kilometers northeast, but after 500 meters, they were covered with snow. At the forest's edge, under a large old cedar, the search party found the remains of a fire, along with the first 2 bodies, Yuri Krivonisenko and Yuri Dorosenko. Both were shoeless and dressed only in their underwear.
Hot.
The large cedar tree near them, it had branches that were broken up to 5 meters high, suggesting that they had climbed up to look for something or look at something. Forensic tests later confirmed that traces of skin were found embedded in the bark, indicating that the pair had frantically attempted to climb the tree, snapping off branches until their hands were a mass of pulpy flesh.
Ooh.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oof.
They were definitely trying to get out of something, get away from something.
Yeah, both of those Yuris were trying to get up there.
That's funny. Both their first names were Yuri, and the ending of their last names were Shenko.
That is weird.
And they ran off together.
And had the same type of death, probably.
On February 27th, between the cedar tree and the tent, the searchers found Igor Dyatlov. And he was 300 meters from the cedar tree.
Zaneta Kolmogorova.
630 meters from the cedar tree. 6 days later, on March 5th, Rustam Slobodin was found 480 meters from the cedar tree. All 3 seemed to have died in poses suggesting that they were attempting to return to the tent. A medical examination found no injuries, and it was concluded that they had died of hypothermia. However, Rustam had a small crack in his skull, but it was not thought to be a fatal wound.
Now, by March 5th, 4 of the hikers were still missing. They didn't find their remains until 2 months later. On May 5th, under 4 meters of snow in the ravine 75 meters further into the woods from the cedar tree, the 4 remaining students were found. All 4 were better dressed than the others, and almost all of them were wearing the clothes of the other students who were found almost naked. Zolotaryov was wearing Dubinina's faux fur coat and hat, while Dubinina's foot was wrapped in a piece of Krivonisenko's wool pants. An examination of the 4 bodies found in May changed the course of the whole investigation. 3 of them had fatal injuries. The body of Thibaut Bernol had major skull damage. Both Dubinina and Zolotaryov had major chest fractures. According to Dr. Boris, the force required to cause such damage would have been extremely high. He compared it to the force of a car crash. The bodies had no external wounds, as if they were crippled by a high level of pressure. Dubinina's was found to be missing her tongue and eyeballs.
What? Eyeballs and tongue? Oh my God, I can't wait till we get to theories to talk about that. I got a theory about that.
Oh snap, I'm ready to hear that one. Before the 4 students died, they had managed to dig out a den in the snow, lay it down with branches in an effort to keep themselves warm. Smart. But the things were about to get even more bizarre. Bodies were actually